Kumusta? Mayong buntag, mainit kayo.
Which mean, how are you? Good morning, and it's very hot.
It's very hot today. A little breeze, but still pretty hot. So I want to start off Construction Day 28 video. We're just thanking everybody for your suggestions. A lot of comments last night really got us thinking. So we're gonna rethink, basically coming from a lot of your suggestions. So here's our new thought. We want to stick with the white ceilings, with the white kitchen cabinets. That's a constant. We don't want to change. So the flooring, I think we've got that dialed in. We want to do still with the 60 cm tile, white, with a tan light brown veins going through it. So that's what we're going to search for. The white tile, the gloss finish, with the light tan, light brown veins. So what that's going to do is change two things. Number one, the wall color was going to be white. We're probably going to now change that to a light tan. So if you envision a white ceiling with a light tan wall, with a high gloss floor, with the light tan and brown veins in it. So that sounds pretty good. But that's going to change our granite countertops. So we're probably going to look to go to white quartz, and then the backsplash, the color of the backsplash will be picked up from that light tan in the floor. So we got to make sure we have enough color. So that's our thought. And then the base of the island, because that would be white quartz, we would make that tan as well. So below the actual quartz, the cabinets below would be a light tan color. So that kind of pulls it all together. So that's our last update. So comment what you guys think about that color coordination. So we're trying to dial it in. Today I do have three pretty good updates. First is the pool update. Went over with the contractor, trying to understand the process of how the pool is going to be built, and he took the time and went over it with me. So I'm going to actually jump in the pool today and give you some close-ups on the construction of the pool. It's pretty interesting. It's going to end up being 14 inches thick. And I'll go over that into some detail with how much hollow block cement and steel that's going to be in that pool. Next is the carport update. We're getting to the point of the construction where they're going to start the carport. So I'm going to go over that with you. And then last, we're going to talk about the steel beams that's going to be going in the house. Specifically that main living area, that 12.5 meters by 7 meter space. Down the center of that needs to be some steel beams that's going to connect to the concrete beams that are going around the perimeter. So I'm going to try to go over that in detail as well. So that's going to be today's update, and see you up at the job site. All right, guys, what I'm going to do is do my best to explain how they're going to construct this pool. So this is the first wall, and it's only 5 courses, and they did a real good job of filling these voids with cement, as well as putting the rebar about every 10 to 12 inches for strength. And this is the first wall. Now the footing, when they poured the footing, it's a very wide footing. It goes all the way out to here. So you can see the rebar that goes straight up. There's going to be a second wall just like this over top of this rebar, and then they'll tie rebar like this as they build the wall up, just like they did here. So when they build this second wall, it's going to create a void of about 4 inches from the inside of this wall to the outside of this wall, about a 4-inch void. Then they will tie in more rebar in the center of this void, and then they will pour solid concrete right from the footing all the way up to the coping of the pool. So there'll be a hollow block wall here, a hollow block wall basically right here over top of this rebar, going up side by side, and then they're going to be pouring 4 inches of concrete with additional rebar between the two. And then when they skim coat the wall on the inside, they'll be mixing some waterproofing with that skim coat, which will go on the inside of the pool. And then after that dries, they'll come back through and do a second waterproofing. Then once that dries, they will do a third coat of cement with the tile. And then that'll get grouted. So when it's all said and done, with the skim coat and the poured cement and the blocks, the thickness of this will be about 14 inches thick. Very, very thick. And then also for the corners, and let me find a bent piece here. In the corners, going up, they will place rebar like this. It just won't end here. Every course, they'll have rebar like this going up. That'll be buried in that cement as it goes up through. So as you guys can see, having a 14-inch, 3 layers, 2 walls with 1 thick 4-inch concrete, we believe this pool will be very, very sturdy and won't leak, right? That's the concern, for it not to leak. So feel pretty confident about that. Okay, this is Edlin, and what he's doing is he's getting the floor to the right level. So they place dirt, and this happens to be my office area, to a certain level, and they raked it, and then they took these larger rocks and brought wheelbarrowfuls of rock into the space, and then now he's pounding the floor, and it's just simply a piece of coconut tree. So it's just a piece of coconut tree. Let me zoom around here, and with 2 sticks of wood. So pretty ingenious. And then he's just going all around, pounding and trying to push down any voids. So you can see that it does a real good job. And they have their string line. So you can see, this might be hard to see, but there is a string line right here, which is the level where he needs to bring all these rock to. So he's bringing rock up as he needs it, and then he goes and pounds with this piece of coconut tree to get it to the right level. Okay, this is the main room of the house with the 12-foot ceilings. So this monster pile of dirt is finally gone, and now they're working on, just like they were in the spare bedrooms, bringing in the rock, and then they'll level everything out and pound it down and get it ready to be poured at some point. But what I wanted to explain today, I'm going to do my best, is how they're going to use steel to handle the span of this room. So this room is 7 meters across, and it's 12.5 meters this way. So what they're doing is they basically, in the middle of the room, there's a column right here that goes up, and it's being tied together with a horizontal beam that'll be poured very similar to over here. So that's a poured beam right there, and that is the height of the of where the roof will be. The top of that is where the roof will be. So in the middle on this side, because this is the little hallway that's going to lead to the 2 bedrooms and the spare bathroom, column going up, beam going across, column going down, and then they created here in the middle another column. And then that'll get tied in to the beam and will be poured to look exactly like that. So basically, the perimeter of this large area will have concrete beam all the way around. Okay? And then remember, this is all glass, so there's going to be a very large beam going across here, and they're going to switch from 12 mm to 16 mm of thicker rebar to handle that span. And that's going to be the large beam in the front of the house. So what they're going to do is in the middle of this room, so when this column gets poured, they're going to have a steel truss to split this room going all the way across. There'll be one steel truss going from left to right. And I'll show you a picture of what the truss looks like. Then there'll be a second steel truss, and you can see the 16 mm rebar sticking out of the center of this room. So basically 3.5 meters in the center. There'll be a second steel truss. They'll split the room this way, and it will meet up with the one going left to right. So if you can envision that, steel truss here going straight all the way to the front of the house, and it will meet up with that large beam. Then a second truss to split the room this way, so the room gets split twice, from here straight across to there, to the center, that center column. So essentially, we'll have two steel trusses that'll crisscross in the center of this room, and that's going to help support the second layer of trusses that's going to go from the front of the house to the back of the house, and I have a picture to show you them. And what that's going to do is, and it'll be tapered, so the truss will be higher in the front and lower in the back, and that'll create that shed effect, the shed roof effect. And as it rains, all the water will run to the back of the home, and then it will extend that 2.5 meters out over the dirty kitchen, and the water will be expelled on the other side of the wall. So I know that's a mouthful, but I wanted just to let you guys know that they're going from the typical 12 mm for the vertical and the horizontal beams. They're switching over to a larger 16 mm, and there'll be trusses that'll crisscross this large room to help support the roof. So the entire front of the house, I mentioned this several times, there'll be a 2-meter porch, if you will, that'll come out at the same height as the floor of the house. It'll come out 2 meters and a couple steps down the concrete to lead to the pool. And there'll also be a 2-meter overhang from the front of the house, 2 meters out. And that will be the very large beam you see on the photos. And that'll come all the way across. So I want to give you guys an update on the carport. I haven't mentioned it too much, I think only once or twice in all the videos. So the same 2-meter overhang, it'll come out with a concrete beam, and then there'll be a concrete beam out here in this whole area, which will be 3.5 meters out from the house. So 3.5 meters, there'll be a column. And then the carport will go from 2 meters in front of the house all the way back 12.5 meters, all the way to the back of the house. So just envision overhang, and very large carport. I wanted to have it extra big in case we have parties or anything like that. We'll have an area under roof. But we extended it. The carport is just not going to end here. It's going to extend just like the dirty kitchen is. So again, I'll try to explain it. So there will be basically a concrete beam in the front, and then there'll be 3 steel columns here, and then the carport will end at that concrete column. So we're going to go concrete on the end, and then steel here, here, and here. And it'll shed, the water will shed this way, away from the house. And then this will be landscaped, tapered down to the fence. So the water will run to the fence, and then it will eventually run out. We'll have a drain going that way. But the carport is going to extend all the way to the fence and actually overhang just like it will here for the dirty kitchen. So this will all be under roof. And the thought process for that is when we pull into the carport with a vehicle and we have groceries, and if it's raining, not necessarily want to get out, go outside and run under that 2-meter overhang into the front of the house. We could just simply be under the carport and then just walk this way, being all under, because again, it'll come all the way out to that column, and just circle around with our groceries to the dirty kitchen, and then eventually that doorway that leads into the main kitchen. So we wanted to have that built into the plan. So they're getting ready to pour the footing for the cement column, and they're getting ready to work on getting the structural ready for the carport. Okay, this is one of the 2 columns they're going to be redoweling today. So basically I'm just going to explain what they're going to do, and you can see how the column got bent. So what they're going to do is they're going to clean this up a little bit, and then they're going to drill 6 holes. They're going to put 6 new strands of rebar. They're going to drill down into the footing about 6 to 8 inches. Then they'll clean that up. Then they will take epoxy and pour epoxy down that drilled hole. And then they'll take the fix, which is the new rebar, and also put that in epoxy. And then they will hammer down the strands of rebar 6 to 8 inches into the footing, and then they will put the stirrups over top of that, and that should strengthen the column that was weakened from bending it. So again, I'm going to do my best to try to show the process. So you can see with the fix here, they're putting epoxy in the holes. So they drilled 6 holes, 3 on this side and 3 on the other side, and then they use that paintbrush to brush the loose concrete away, and then they're taking this epoxy and letting it go down in the hole. Then they take the rebar and they put the epoxy around the rebar, and then they will hammer that down in about 8 inches into the footing. And they're doing that 6 times. See how they're driving that rebar down into the footing. And what that's going to do, once they put the stirrups over top, will strengthen this column that, as you can see, got bent. So they're not moving the column, they're just reinforcing it with 6 strands. All right, so the final step basically is to take the 6 strands of rebar that was epoxy down into the footing, and now they're holding it all together. They removed the stirrups and moved them up. Then they're pulling in the rebar that goes up about, it looks like about 1 meter. And then now they're in the process of hammering the stirrups over top of the original rebar in the column, and then the additional rebar that'll strengthen this column. So they're working on that now, and I'll show you the final product here in a little bit. Okay, this is Edlin again. He got on today's video twice. So this is the final result. Looks great. So here's the fix of one of the 2 columns that they're fixing today. So I showed you the process. They drilled holes, they put 6 strands in, they epoxy it in, and then that 6 strands go up about 1 meter. Now they put the stirrups on the outside of the old and the new rebar, and then he's tying those stirrups in place. So again, this is going to be, in my opinion, a very sturdy column because of the fix. And they need to do this one more time today, 2 columns down, and we'll be done. They'll be able to resume the wall install. You could not get within 6 feet of her a month ago, and now she just loves to be petted. She gets a full plate of food every day. At least it's got to be close to 1 kilo. She doesn't even finish it now, but she just a loving dog, and like I said, you couldn't get within 6 feet of her. And it took a long time. It took at least 2 or 3 weeks for me just to pet her, and she really wouldn't let you pet her. She would just smell your hand and then take off. But now she will not leave us alone, which is a good thing. She hangs out with us all day. We're sitting here taking a break because it's very hot today, and you can see the tails wagging. But she just loves attention, and we certainly give it to her.